Hey peeps, this lesson is how to play 60s rock or soul rhythm guitar. They're kind of the same thing. I guess you should listen to a lot of Jimi Hendrix if you want to get this exactly right. But this kind of playing is still in the charts now, and it's worked its way into, you know, all kinds of different music. The little thing I just played then was only really 4 chords. The whole thing was C, A minor, F and G. So it doesn't get much simpler than that. The first thing you'd want to learn is there's, you know, a whole bunch of different ways of playing a C chord and a whole bunch of different ways of playing an A minor chord and so on. So I'm going to show you that first. Okay, so here are the different ways you can play a C chord. So you might already know this one. I'm kind of playing an A shape moved up to the 3rd fret. So that's A sharp, that's B, and that's C. And then the next C shape I played is this one. So this is kind of, I'm just playing the middle 4 strings, and it's part of this chord. And the idea is that any of your 5 open shapes that you learnt first, C, A, G, E and D, any of those shapes can be moved up to make another chord. So what I did then was I got this G chord and moved up G sharp, A sharp, B, C. Very awkward chord to play like this, but we can just play part of the chord like this. So my first finger is barring the 5th fret on the 2nd, 3rd and 4th strings, and my 3rd finger is on the 7th fret on the 5th string. So we have 2 C chords so far. There's one more that's going to be used, which is, it's part of this one, the normal C bar chord that you sometimes play on the 8th fret, but it's just the top half of it. Just those 4 notes there. So my first finger is, it only needs to bar the 1st and 2nd string, but it's still pressing down the 3rd and 4th string because that's where it was before. And my middle finger is on 9th fret on the 3rd string, 3rd finger is on 10th fret on the 4th string. So those are your 3 different C shapes. Of course they're all C chords, so they all sound pretty similar. They almost sound exactly the same when you just play them on their own. But the idea of using more than one shape for each chord means that it means you can get these nice little sliding sounds as you go from one to the other. So what I did on the first one, this is kind of the general theme of this. We're going from here to here, so the 3rd finger can slide from the 5th fret to the 7th fret. So instead of just jumping from one chord to the other, we can slide from one chord to the other. Same thing, it's going to be the 3rd finger again this time. So the 3rd finger slid from 7th fret to 10th fret on the 4th string. We have different chord shapes, and we can slide between them. And there's a lot of background noise here. There's all sorts going on here. There's some swans over there, ducks, moorhens, and I can hear someone whistling to try and get their dog to come back out of the pond. Good luck with that. Where was I? So we have different shapes for the same chord. And the other thing is, we're only ever playing 3 or 4 strings at a time. Very rarely like strumming all 6 strings. And that means that your little finger, and sometimes your other fingers, are free to add in little, I guess you'd call them embellishments. So, see there, we have the little finger just went on here, on the 10th fret, little hammer on and pull off. Okay, so the next chord was A minor, so that was what we did on the C chord. Again, I'm using this idea, you know, like you already know this D minor chord, maybe, you know, if you've learnt your open chords. That's D minor. If I keep going up, D, D sharp, E, F, then eventually I'll get to this, and this will be A minor. So I've got a D minor shape, and I've moved it all the way up until it's A minor. And I kind of then went to, you probably already know this A minor bar chord here. Don't worry if you don't, you can learn all this stuff, you know. At some point I'll teach you bar chords. But instead of doing it as a bar chord, see if you can try this. Instead of barring all the strings with your first finger, just bar the first 3. Your third finger still plays 7th fret on the 4th string, and if you can, a lot of people hate doing this at first, get your thumb over the top like this to play the 5th fret. It leaves the little finger, again free, to do all kinds of fun stuff. You may already know, the first scale you learn, usually when you're learning lead guitar, is this one, A pentatonic minor scale. So if you already know that scale, then you might be able to add in some notes from that scale. I think I did that in the little thing I played before, but it wasn't quite properly prepared. Some of it was improvised. This is A minor. That's an A minor scale, and we can slide this A minor chord down till we get to the next chord, which was F. So it's almost the same. The second finger comes on and goes to 2nd fret on the 3rd string, like that. Again, the little finger is free. And then the next thing you can do is, we're going to go to another F chord. This one here. Looks a bit like a D chord moved up. D, D sharp, E, F. But I'm doing it by, instead of like this, instead of doing the D chord like that, the first finger is barring the 3 strings like that, so they can slide over. So we go from this F to this F. And then we'll go from F to G, so it might be nice to go. So we had F and G. Threw in the F sharp along the way there, that's F. Sharp and G, and then sort of slid into this G7 shape. So you're probably spotting this theme here, that we're getting chords from over here, and we're moving them up to make new chords over here. So this would be C7, and that's I go from the 5th string, it's 3rd fret, 2nd fret on the 4th string, 3rd fret on the 3rd string, 1st fret on the 2nd string, open E string, open 1st string. Move that up, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G. We get a G7. So we had a G chord here, G7 chord here, and then I'm looking for to go back round to the C chord, and the nearest C chord is this one. You may recognize this shape from earlier. It was over here. It was the F chord. F, F sharp G, G sharp A sharp B, C. Little finger is free to do fun stuff. Well, I think it's fun. And then you can get the shape that we used before for the F and the G, and we can move it all the way up to here for C. So we have, and we have another C chord here. It's quite good, you can hit the high notes up there. And then with an A minor chord here, something that's worth noting is when you get to the 12th fret, all your notes start again. So what I mean is, if you know this is A minor, take your 3rd finger off, that's A minor 7. If we move that all the way up here, 12 frets higher than it was, we've got an A minor chord again. So we can do that. We could actually just play it with the open strings. I think I played it barring the other ones before like this. Maybe I'll throw in the open 5th string. And then we have the F chord, but an octave higher as well. And then the G chord. And then it finished with a C. And the C is the same as this C bar chord down there. I guess when the frets are closer together up here, you can reach stuff like, you know, I wouldn't maybe have to do that down here. No, I can't reach the 8th fret there, but when I'm playing the C chord, same C shape up here, I can reach this, whatever fret that is. 15, 17, 19, 20th fret. So I think at the end, we had that. Okay, so if you want to be able to, that's pretty much what I played there, but if you want to be able to make your own versions of, you know, of these shapes and stuff like that, what I would recommend is going through the first few chords that you learn. You know, so at some point you learnt C, A, G, E, and D. You probably learnt A minor, D minor, and E minor. What you want to do then is try and turn all of those chords into bar chords. They don't even have to be full bar chords, you just have to play them further up. So, I mean, you could start with the D chord and the D minor chord and just play 3 strings. This is a D chord. This is D sharp. This is E. Doesn't have to use 3 fingers. You can use 2 fingers. First finger can press down 3 strings. Leaving the 4th finger free. 3rd finger is also free. You'll do a bit of trial and error like I did there, like this note didn't sound right, but the one next to it always does. A little trick there, if you add in a note and it doesn't sound right, the one either side of it is always going to work. You're only ever 1 fret away from a correct decision. So that's the first thing, you get all your open chords and you learn to move them up. Some of them are awkward to play if you play all 6 strings. So say like getting the C chord, if I want to move that up, I'll get this. Doesn't get played very often. This is, I mean, it's in Under the Bridge by Chili Peppers. You know, well, that, how does that go? It goes. And it's not, you know, it's not used very often at playing the full shape like this. But look what happens if I take the 4th finger off. Now we've only got like the 3 middle strings to deal with. You know. So this could be D, D sharp, E, and so on. And like when you, if you start a bar by playing, you know, a full chord with a root note at the bottom, then you don't have to have the root note at the bottom of the chord for the rest of it. I think the listener has already heard the root note, so you can get away with adding in, you know, other notes. So to summarize that, I guess the first thing you got to do is you got to learn, or you got to try out taking your open chords and moving them up. You can do this by ear if you don't like music theory as well, by the way. You know, like if you want to be able to make a C chord, you play a C chord like this, and then just grab any one of your other open shapes. Let's say it's the G shape, and we're just going to go up. Sounds like a C chord. See, these kind of sound the same. So that's the first thing, is get your open shapes, see what they sound like going along the fretboard. The next thing is to take those shapes and kind of reduce them to just 3 or 4 strings. So say like that C chord I was playing before, I don't really want to play that in a song. It's an awkward shape to play. It involves all 4 fingers, and I can't get my thumb over the top when I'm doing it. So what I would rather do is just pick maybe the top 4 strings here, maybe the top 3. Now we have a shape that we can actually use. The next thing is when you're going from when you're going between two different C chords, for example, or two different A minor chords, is look at the next chord and figure out a way you can slide to it. So, C chord, C chord, I'm trying to keep your first finger, you know, not barring, but sometimes barring some of the strings, and sometimes just muting the strings. So basically your first finger is going to be touching the strings all the time. Sometimes your thumb's going to be over the top, and sometimes you want to be able to mute strings with your thumb so that you can add in little passing notes like that. And that's pretty much it. You find more than one chord shape, you learn how to slide between them, and you use any free fingers to add in other little notes to the chords. So I'll post some handwritten notes on Facebook and Instagram. At some point I hope to get round to typing all this up and putting it to proper course for you, but in the meantime I think you've got plenty to work with there.